Friday nights during the fall. Six-man fans gather to watch a sermon of grit and determination be delivered by 6 men, 10 minutes at a time, 4 quarters a night. Here you'll find the quarterback, is also the linebacker, and the kicker, where iron sharpens iron, where hard work pays off, and where 6 are won. Now for your host of 6 is 1, Coach Goldman.
This is Coach Goldman here with you at 6 is 1. Today we have on the phone with us Jordan Temple. He's with the Austin Achieve. It's a charter school out of Austin, Texas. Hey, Coach, thanks for joining us this morning.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me.
I wanted to, one of the things that we do with this program is to try to reach out to a varying different types of coaches. A lot of us don't understand the different aspects that six-man football reaches so many different types of communities, more so than really any other sport, because you look at your UIL or football and sports and athletics, and it has its own set of rules, and then you get into TAPS and the private schools, and they kind of have their own gig and thing, and but as where we play, it's charter, it's private, it's homeschool, it's even public schools. I've got 2 of those on my schedule this year. I have Calvert and Rankin, so I don't know. I don't know if I'm crazy or not, but
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, well, I told the guys, I said, I'm tired of y'all mouthing off in practice, so.
Well, there you go.
There you go. Maybe we'll focus you a little bit, but. Anyway, what I'd love to do is if you could just share with us a little bit your backstory, how you got into coaching, and how you got to Achieve, and sort of how long you've been there, a little bit like that.
Okay, yeah, for sure. So it's actually a funny story a little bit, because I didn't know anything about charter schools when I was going to college. I always planned to be a high school basketball coach. I went to Texas State, and I was a manager on the basketball team, and I did an internship as well, just to learn from the coaches. But when I was finishing up my student teaching there, I actually just reached out to one of my friends from Texas State, who actually ended up being a principal at a charter school here in Austin, and they had an opening. I didn't know much about them, and then I went there and I just fell in love with the way they ran the school and the kids and all that, and I joined the next year. Austin Achieve was a brand new school. When I joined, they were in their 3rd year, so they had 6th, 7th, and 8th, and those 8th graders just moved up every year, and actually this year they're the first graduating class at our school. If you don't know, charter schools are just a little different typically than public. We still have the same standards as public schools as far as test scores and all that, but we typically serve low-income scholars, so we have to start school pretty early. Our first day of school this year was August 1st.
Wow.
Yeah, so with the struggles that comes with all the academic side, we have this. We're learning about the struggles in the athletics, because since we're a new school, that they don't really have a foundation. Most, you have seniors that kind of lay the foundation for what's to come and what's expected. These seniors didn't have that, so we had to learn through a lot of obstacles that were in place. But we've gotten better every year. And next year we're really excited because we'll have our first high school campus. So that means we'll have a brand new gym and a field that we can actually play on and practice on, which is awesome, because the entire time our organization's been around, we've had to I've had to drive to the YMCA every day to use the field, to use the gym. We had to use the little space that we have for everything. So it's hard to simulate game-like situations on field sizes that aren't full-size fields. But yeah. I'm really excited because every single year we've improved. We've learned a lot. It's just really great.
So take me back a little bit so you've been with Achieve for 4 years then? 4 or 5?
Well, this is my fifth
Fifth
year.
year. Okay.
This is my fifth year. I'm going into my sixth next year.
Okay. Wow. So you've been with the program from early on. That is, and you've seen that
Yeah.
growth, and it is true. That is, what you're not having a home field. I always, ourselves, having to, kind of construct our own out of a field, right? But it's still it's a place to practice, and we run into a lot of teams that don't have. Even our volleyball and basketball teams don't have a home court, and it's tough. It really does make it difficult you're working around somebody else's schedule to even do any of your practices, and that's or if you can get practices in, right? It's tough to sometimes get the time and the space. So now you mentioned something about the this being the first class of seniors, and so why don't you delve down a little bit into that, because I don't think any of us truly appreciate what it's like to have any form of leadership. I mean, sometimes we all begrudge, well, we only have a small senior class, but a non-existent senior or junior class is got to be different and difficult.
Yeah. I knew it was going to be tough trying to build a new athletic program, but I just didn't really understand or grasp how difficult that would be. What I learned over the years was that not only was I the head coach for the team, but I was also that senior. So I had to go above and beyond to show them what it's like to compete in a practice, to show up on time, just accountability, and instill that. That's something that I think typically coaches don't have to do because the kids do that. It was really difficult to get to that point where the kids are holding each other accountable, which for the most part is instilled in a lot of programs already because they have that buy-in. But we kind of lack that across the board. We definitely had kids that were just like fantastic, awesome kids that learned that on their own. But for the most part, it was kind of a struggle because no one really taught them that.
Right. Now that makes sense. Now, in your let's drill down a little bit about the new facility. So you have how does that even transpire? How do you your funding is coming from the state, but it also do you have private donations? Is that the way that you help build the program?
So the way charter schools work is we have the same standards as public schools, but the main difference is I think it's roughly we get $1,500 less per student from the state. So we essentially charter schools don't get funded for facility stuff. So we have to do a lot of marketing, reaching out for donations. So all of our buildings and facilities and maintaining them come from donations, basically. So I guess our team just did a really good job of finding a good network that really believes in what we're doing, and they built a really beautiful campus.
So now the fundraising, when you do that, is that just everything from bake sales to golf, to golf outings, or how do you corporate? I mean, how do you go about doing it? That's really because a lot of folks, are trying to like you get facilities. It's a slog to try to raise money like that.
Yeah, I think there's a community in Austin that like donate money since we're a nonprofit. That's where they go, and honestly, I can't speak a ton on like fundraising because I'm not super involved. We actually have like our own team of people that's their job is to market our school and bring people in, tour it, and
Gotcha.
I guess keep continuing to build that community within that because we have a board since we're a nonprofit.
So on the athletic side, you'll have a field house then. So does the field house have like the weight room? Give us a little bit of understanding of what it's going to look like. AstroTurf, I hear, for the field, correct?
Yeah.
So good. I want to tell you right now that it's a true blessing because I'm in the process of trying to keep grass alive all summer. You don't want that.
No.
But so tell us a little bit about the facilities, and what do you think is unique or kind of interesting about the new facilities?
Yeah. Initially, I think I mean, once you come, it's really unique. And first off, our turf it's going to be lined gray and purple,
There you go.
which is very unique. And then secondly, for the most part, most football fields are kind of like off campus or to the side.
Hmm.
Ours, it would be like right in the middle of the elementary campus and the high school campus on one side. So it's cool because it's surrounded by the buildings, and then the gym and the locker rooms come out to the end zone. So the kids will be right there, and it's literally, I don't know, like 10 yards away from the actual door to the locker room. So, well, yeah, and then we'll have a weight room, which is really exciting as well.
Yeah, I can tell you that is probably the most instrumental thing that in my 7 years coaching here with Tribe was we got donated a weight room this last year and going well,
Oh, nice.
and so starting in January. Yeah, we lost week one, and we lost week one last year, and it was a weight room loss. I told the guys, you just couldn't
Yeah.
hang with. It's not that they didn't have the endurance; they didn't have the strength to hang with. We were playing a public school out in West Texas.
Hmm.
It ended up, I think, Sterling City, and they were a top 10 team. But yeah, I said, and that really, it's amazing. If again, it comes back to your seniors, right? And you're
Yeah.
encouraging the younger guys to get in there and do this. So it's that culture that you have to, that comes with time, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I think so. Speak a little bit about, I mean, the culture and how that, if it has changed, has it been sort of the same for me, or where you see it going, and what's kind of helping
Our
you build
athletic
it?
culture?
Yes, yes.
Um, yes, it's definitely improving every year. So I think the part of the issue with our school is, yeah, like I said, the inexperience with some of the kids, and then the different leagues that we're playing. It was the lack of buy-in that we had in from the majority of our kids, because the problem was that these kids didn't grow up playing football or basketball or volleyball. Most of our kids grew up playing soccer. So
Really?
they're
Okay.
playing basketball and football for the first time freshman year. So they don't necessarily have that buy-in that would have been established in third or like fourth grade. For the most part, that kids do, they play organized sports growing up. So the struggle that we had as coaches was trying to not only find that passion or drive from our kids, but show them that it's in them. And that's kind of been the struggle. But once you find that and show the kids, then you got what you want. Then it's on them, and then that accountability will happen because they find a purpose with that sport and a responsibility. And we're getting there. It just I didn't understand how difficult it would be to start a program basically from scratch. And I'm learning kind of what the obstacles are and how to attack them. But our culture is definitely improving. It still has a long way to go for sports across the board. And then once we establish that in the middle school, I think long term will help so much.
So, do you have a middle school program that sports wise? I mean, is the athletic
Yes,
system
we
okay?
do. We do. The issue kind of with the middle school though is they don't have the same facilities as the high school will have. We don't have a full size gym. We don't really have a lot of field space, but next year we will have more turf space. It's not going to be a full size field, but it'll be enough. It'll be big enough to have a really good practice space.
Yeah. We did
So
the
I
same
think that
thing,
will
Coach. We did the same thing.
definitely help.
Yeah, the junior high out where we are get a smaller patch of grass. That's
Yeah.
but they
But I mean, even having our junior high team play at the high school for games will definitely help with the buy-in of the sport, and they'll see kind of how exciting it can be. Because every game we've been in, we've had to travel
right.
literally every game pretty much.
So what is the what sports do you offer? At the school.
We offer, as of now, we offer cross country, boys and girls, volleyball, boys and girls basketball, six-man football, boys and girls soccer, and then boys and girls track.
So I got a question for you, Coach, because my kids play in some other sports, the basketball, volleyball, track
Yeah.
like that. But most of those schools that we play against do not have a football program. And when I ask them, you've got some pretty good looking lads over there that look like they could strap it on. I mean, they're playing football basically on that basketball court.
Hmm. Yeah.
The way some of them are playing, I said, you need to give these guys an outlet. Do you have, why not six man? And they, their response is always, well, that's just not a sport where, what we feel
Yeah.
that we need. So, I am hearing that. How is it that y'all decided that, football is a sport that we'd like to have, and it's one that, I mean, do you have any insight as to why they said, yeah, we're going to go ahead and do football when so many other programs simply do not? They just opt out of it.
Yeah. I feel very lucky and fortunate to work with administration that understands the importance of athletics and just opportunities for the kids. So there really wasn't any convincing from my end. Our principal is our head coach for the high school, and he's obviously very passionate about the sport. And luckily for us, our founder, which is basically a superintendent, is all in on providing just any opportunity for the kids. So there wasn't even any pushback from him. He understood it. So
That's good.
Mason, our head coach, approached him and wanted to push for starting a tackle program, and he said, "Okay, pretty much, let's do it." Because most charter schools don't do that, and
Yeah.
our philosophy is we kind of want to stand out and be unique, and kind of provide opportunities at Austin Achieve that aren't at other charter schools. So that's kind of the idea.
Yeah, I mean it is unique. I mean, Nios and yourself are the only ones that I'm aware of. We have charter school out where I live here in Bastrop, but it doesn't even offer any sports,
Yeah.
which
Yeah,
floors
we
me.
play in the charter league and all the other sports. So every other charter school has basketball, soccer, track, all those things. But only, I think only Nios, and I think Harmony next year is doing tackle.
Okay, I didn't know that. Yeah, I mean it just seems, I don't know if it's the just the cultural shift that people have about putting kids
Yeah.
in contact sports, which I always
I
find
mean,
amazing because they get hurt in other sports more than they do in football. At least that's my
yeah, it's definitely misconceived by our families. It's been a hard time trying to get kids to play football because their families have had so much pushback because they just don't know. I mean, our school's made up of 90% Hispanic, and of course, soccer
Yeah.
is king. And what's the exact opposite of soccer? It's probably football. There's definitely interest from our kids about it, but it's very intimidating to them to just because it's so different from what they're accustomed to, and they're honestly their parents are very concerned, and they don't want them to play because they just don't know much about the sport, and they just think of it as a safety concern.
Yeah,
So
I always tell people because it's passed along to me. I said, football is a ruffian's game played by gentlemen, and soccer is a gentleman's game played by ruffians. Because I don't know if you've seen a lot of these slide tackles, but those guys go.
oh, I know,
After
yeah,
knees
and
like
yeah, these
crazy.
guys are tough.
Yeah, and they're going
But
after knees.
I will say if we can get our entire soccer team to play football, we would take a huge leap. Our soccer team is really good. We just had 3 guys signed to play in college. I mean, all the best athletes are playing soccer right now.
Yeah.
If we can somehow convince them to all play football, we would take a huge leap.
Well, yeah. I mean, because they're fast. I bet you they're fast. It's everything six. I mean, that's the thing, right? People.
Yeah.
You show up.
They're fast and in shape.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what you need. You don't need a bunch of big lumbering guys, certainly for six men. So, is the intent of the program to stay at six man? I think you shared with me one time. Maybe you're looking to go 11 man. Where's the growth
Yeah,
looking?
I mean, the goal, because we got about 470 kids in our high school, so it would be a small high school for if we were public. But I think the end goal is to do 11 man. The big question is, I just don't know when that will be. We're just definitely not ready. We enjoy the 6 man game. We like being in the Teal League. We like the competition between y'all. It's just been it's been a learning process for the kids and the coaches, honestly. But I think we'll be playing 6 man for a little bit, because our next goal is to get a JV team, and then if we ever once we get the numbers up,
Yeah.
I think we'll try to do 11 man. But I just don't know when that will be.
Yeah. So will you have a JV team this coming year?
We're trying to convince these 8th graders. I tell them, because they're all anxious and nervous about being on the high school team, getting hit by juniors and seniors. But I said, hey, if we can get 15 of y'all to play, we can look into a JV team, and that's what we want. So we're just kind of waiting to see what the numbers will look like.
Yeah. We play JV, so my magical number is 10 for a JV.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what and we'll have a JV this year. Last year we weren't able to. So you're right. Some years it just fluctuates, right? Whether you have the numbers to kind of maintain that. I mean, the feasts in this world where they they have JV and then JV.
Yeah. I think we definitely want to get to that level of consistency, and it starts at the middle school.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can tell these kids were just they didn't know what high school is about. I was like, if y'all knew what I knew, you wouldn't have any reluctancy to play. But they're just nervous about playing against older kids.
It's interesting what I do with the younger guys when they come up to so I have a good freshman class this year, meaning size-wise. I mean, they're still young athletes. But when we get them out there on the field and we go to we get in shells, and a coach did this for me years ago, and I thought, wow, that's interesting. It seems kind of stupid and asinine, but it really works. So I line them up, and many of them sometimes it's like you said, their first year to even play contact sports. And we do this at the junior high level. We go ahead and do it at the varsity level too. Is we put the freshmen, we put the seniors or the juniors or the bigger kids, definitely the seniors, and we have them hold a blocking dummy, like a shield, a blocking shield, and we put a row of dummies behind them, and we have them just stand there flat-footed, and the freshmen get to just tee off on them, and they go backwards, right, and they land on the dummies, and it doesn't, and they think that's, and then I flip it, right, and I let them hold the blocking shield, and I let the seniors hit them, and now they're hitting a pad and they're landing on pads, but what it does is it takes away the anxiety, because all of a sudden they feel themselves going backwards. It's kind of that that fall thing, like where you have your brother catch you right when you fall backward, and is he going to catch you type thing. But it just all of a sudden, and as crazy as that little drill sounds, it just takes away. They're like, I wasn't that bad. I mean, that guy hit me as hard as he can, and yeah, I got him holding a pad, but I'm flying backwards. I can't control myself. I hit land on pads, and we just pop them back up, and each get hit about 3 or 4 times, and then after that, they're like, yeah, this isn't as big. Okay, these guys aren't nearly as. That's all they got. That's kind of what the attitude is, and it really does help, as opposed to just saying, all right, we're going to line up, and somewhere along the practice, that big old senior's going to. Now, it does happen somewhere, right, that they do get hit, hard, but it's that mindset, right, that that it's not nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be.
And I bet some of them enjoy it.
Yeah. Oh no, they love it. So the next day at practice, we do this once, right? This is just a learning experience. But, the seniors, like, let's do that drill. Let's do the pad drill. I'm like, no, we got things to do. That teaches one thing. It does not teach football.
Yeah.
It teaches how to get over your fear. That's it.
Yeah, I think it is cool to what I've learned over the years is seeing a kid that's never put on pads before, and they have that first initial hit or get hit, and the smile, like a grin, comes on their face. It's really cool. They just fall like in love with that, and they would it's what. And I start thinking they wouldn't have experienced that if they went to another, probably bigger public school or another charter school. So it's cool to provide that experience.
Yeah, I think one of the things that, and I'm sure you do this as well. I mean, part of coaching, especially young men, is about getting back up. It's not about getting knocked down. It's about getting back up.
Yeah, and I will say Mason, our head football coach, has just done a terrific job of just motivating our kids because some of our games are pretty lopsided score wise, and we're getting hit like blindsided. The kids, because the kids don't really know the spacing and all that, they're getting knocked off, but they keep playing hard. I admire and respect that in them. They never give up.
Yeah, and that's all you can ask.
Yeah.
Some years you're the windshield, some years you're the bug. I've learned that. I don't adjust our schedule just because 1 year we're going to run into a buzzsaw of a team that just beats us like a pulp, and then the next year we turn around and we can do the same. So I think it's a great experience for all these young men to be able to understand that it's not easy. Nothing in life comes easy, and one thing about football, it's not easy. I always tell my junior high, you're the real men. I don't know about y'all, but our junior high practices before our varsity, and so they're always having to practice in 100+ degree heat. Right, varsity practice goes into the evening for us, so it's always 10, 12 degrees cooler for the varsity. And trust me, those 10 or 12 degrees are huge.
Yeah, it's a huge deal.
The difference between 188 or 90 is big. And I always tell them, yeah, you're the real men. Those varsity guys, they need air conditioning to play. So tell me an interesting, if you got an interesting story that whether it's about a player, it can be any sport. It doesn't need to be football. That where you've had a coaching moment, kind of like where you mentioned just there, where you have a kid who gets hit the first time and his eyes kind of open up. If you got a story you can share, sort of a moment that you've had there at Achieve.
Yeah. So I guess the first kid that I think of is Josmar, and he is kind of the epitome of what we want all of our athletes to be. But he has that attitude of just doesn't really care. He'll try anything new, and whatever he tries, he's going to give it everything that he has. He was one of our best players, and he just started playing football, I guess, in 10th grade or whenever we first started. But, yeah, there wasn't one specific moment with him. It was almost like the harder you hit this kid, the more it got him fired up, whether he was hurt or not. He just has some type of resilience about him that makes you just kind of admire and feel fortunate enough to be around this kid. But there were certain times, it didn't matter what the score was. He was definitely our vocal leader, and just our emotional one that always tried to keep the guys together and be positive no matter what. Whether it was just we're getting beat, we're getting hurt, the other team was, playing somewhat dirty. He was always just concerned about our guys and getting them ready. And I honestly, when I look back at myself when I was 16 years old or whatever, I don't know if I could handle that the way he does. So that's cool. It's just a really humbling experience, especially knowing everything that goes on in these kids' life outside of our school. So that's something that gave me a new perspective.
So when you mentioned that, so the kids that come into your program, I guess they have to apply, or how do they get into your program? They meet a certain socio-economic status? Or?
No, good question. So we're I guess technically a public charter school, so anyone is able to come to our school, we're finally getting to the point of at the organization where we're full. We don't have any room across our grade, so when that happens, we'll have a waiting list, so people can register to come to our school. But if we're full, they just have to wait until there's an open spot available. But you can live anywhere
Okay. So
in the area and come to our school.
So it's
We
like
have
an
kids that
open
live in
enrollment.
Pflugerville, Elgin, even by Slaughter.
Okay. So it's like an open enrollment school. Got it.
Yes, yeah. You're not restricted by a zone.
Okay. Yeah, and I guess I didn't realize that. So at that point you get on a waiting list, and it's first come first serve on the waiting list, or do they?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. They'll just say you're number 5 on the waiting list, and so you'll go on next. So I mean, that's exciting for our organization that we're full across pretty much most of our grades.
That really is. That's great that you're getting like nearly 500 students between, I guess that's 6th through 12th, correct?
I think I don't know exactly for the high school. I think it's around 470 from 9 through 12.
9 through 12. Oh, okay.
And then our middle school is about a little under 600, but that's 5th through 8th.
Wow. I mean, it's a much bigger program than I'd realized. Okay. So.
Yeah, we just don't. Most of our kids don't play football, so our biggest, I guess, thing to work on is getting as many of those kids to play football in middle school. That's where it starts.
Yeah, no, it is. The middle school program, you're right, is the lifeblood of all programs. There was recently a really Stephenville Faith out in West Texas, great program, great coaching staff for a long time, but they had a couple of years where they didn't have a junior high program, and it's made it very difficult for them to continue. And so, but they're knocking it out. I know they've got a program back and they got their middle school back, but it certainly does affect you when you're not able to for kids to get into the sport, especially like football. I think it's a great sport to get into before the testosterone kicks in, is what I always tell folks. You actually learn more before the testosterone kicks in. Then you regress a little bit.
True.
So, I at heart, I was a middle school coach for most of my years, and I love that age. I really love sewing into that age. But now it's not that I don't love my larger guys, but yeah, the testosterone certainly is a different factor when dealing with males between the ages of 16 and 18.
Oh yeah, it's just different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Currently, I teach middle school PE, and then I go to the high school for athletics in the later days. So I see both of it every day, pretty much.
Yeah. So, Coach, I want to thank you very, very much for taking the time to be with us and this opportunity to share a little bit about your program. Is there any thing you'd like to leave us with that kind of is on your heart about it doesn't make anything we discussed, just anything in general?
No, I guess the first thing that comes to mind is kind of just the experience and perspective that Teal has provided, not only for myself, but I think for our kids has been powerful. Most of these kids at our school kind of just grow up in their community and don't really venture out to different cultures or see much outside of Austin. I think not only by playing football has been a great experience, but also just seeing the different types of demographics. And I think what's cool is when we have those moments at the end of games and when we pray and circle up, when I see both our teams shaking hands and respecting each other, it's been really cool for me to see, because I don't know if my kids would have had that experience if they didn't play the teams in the Teal. And I think to me at the moment it's just bigger than football.
That's a good
which I think is cool.
Yeah, I think that's a good. I think that's a good way of saying it. If we can, as coaches, get it to where it's bigger than the sport, and they realize that it is not just about them, and it's not just about the sport, but that's always a good thing for us to try to seek to achieve. So, Appreciate it very much. Appreciate the time. Look forward to seeing you again this season. My son is very depressed. My oldest one's now a senior because he was really wanting to play on your new field. And I know I told him Coach offered us to come out there, but I said my board said, no, you need 5 home football games.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's how we fund our program, right, is to actually have games at home. So that's one of the aspects of scratching and clawing. So we'll see you out our way. Truly look forward to it. And thank you again. And as for those of you that are new, so SIXASONE, I truly appreciate you to check the box below, subscribe. I'm told to tell you to do, subscribe to the platform. If you need to reach out, it's coach at coachg.us. Always looking for people that we can have this kind of discussion with. Thank you again, Coach Temple, and y'all have a blessed day.